The morning after my wedding, my wife asked, "Do you care if my boyfriend comes over?" The morning after my wedding, my wife asked, "Do you care if my boyfriend comes over?" I was standing in the kitchen of our honeymoon suite at the resort, making coffee in my pajamas, still half asleep. The question hit me like ice water. "What did you just say?" I turned around to look at Rachel, who was sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone like she just asked if I wanted toast. "Do you care if my boyfriend comes over today? We usually see each other on Mondays, and I don't want to mess up the schedule." She said it so casually, so matter-of-factly, that for a second I thought I'd misheard her. I asked her to repeat herself, and she did, word for word, with the same calm tone. I felt my hands start shaking as I set down the coffee pot. We dated for 2 years. I'd proposed 6 months ago. We'd just gotten married yesterday in front of 150 people, and now she was asking about her boyfriend coming over. When I asked what she meant by boyfriend, she looked up from her phone with this confused expression, like I was being slow. "Tyler," she said simply. "My boyfriend, Tyler. He comes over most Mondays." I thought you knew that. I definitely did not know that. I asked if she was cheating on me, and she laughed, actually laughed, like that was the most ridiculous thing she'd ever heard. "No, of course not," she said, going back to her phone. "I just need to make sure he's okay. He depends on me." The way she said it, so calm and reasonable, made everything worse somehow. I sat down on the edge of the couch and tried to process what was happening. I asked how long this had been going on, and she said about 8 years now, since before we even met. Every Monday, sometimes Thursdays too if he really needs her. I scrolled back through my memory trying to remember Mondays. Rachel always said she had a standing appointment on Mondays, something about seeing her therapist. I'd never questioned it because therapy seemed healthy and normal, but now I was realizing those weren't therapy appointments. She'd been seeing someone else every single week for our entire relationship. I asked where they met, and she said at the hospital where she used to volunteer. That checked out. Rachel had volunteered at the Children's Hospital back in college, but she quit that job 4 years ago. Yet apparently, she'd kept seeing Tyler this whole time. When I asked what they did together, she got this soft look on her face that made my stomach turn. "We just spend time together," she said. "Talk, watch movies, sometimes I help him with exercises. He can't really do much on his own anymore." That last part confused me. I asked what she meant by that, and she explained that Tyler needs a lot of help with basic things. He can't feed himself properly, can't manage his schedule, can't handle being alone for too long. "That's why Mondays are so important," she said. "It gives him something consistent to look forward to." My mind was racing through possibilities, none of them good. I asked if Tyler knew about me, about our relationship, about the fact that we just got married. She hesitated for the first time, her fingers stopping mid-scroll on her phone. "He knows about you," she said slowly, "but he doesn't really understand the marriage thing. It would upset him if I explained it fully." I stood up and started pacing around the suite. Every question I asked just made things worse, revealed another layer of this secret life she'd been living. I asked if she'd been spending money on Tyler, and she admitted she had. "Not a lot," she said, "just enough to help cover his expenses. The apartment, food, his medical supplies." Apartment, medical supplies. I asked what was wrong with Tyler medically, and Rachel's expression shifted, became more guarded. "It's complicated," she said. "He has some issues that require ongoing care. That's part of why I can't just stop seeing him. He needs me." I grabbed my phone and opened our bank statements, something I probably should have done months ago. There they were, monthly transfers to an account I didn't recognize, $600 every month for the past 2 years, labeled as personal expenses. When I showed her the screen, she nodded like this was all perfectly normal. "That's for Tyler's rent and groceries," she explained. "His disability payments don't quite cover everything." I asked point blank if she was in love with Tyler, and her answer made everything so much worse. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. "She's like a brother to me," Rachel says, her eyes finally meeting mine. The words hang in the air between us, and I'm not sure if they make things better or worse. We're still in our honeymoon suite, but it feels like we're suddenly strangers. The bank statement is still open on my phone, those $600 monthly transfers glaring up at me like accusations. "A brother," I repeat slowly. "You've been hiding a brother from me for our entire relationship?" Rachel sets her phone down for the first time since this conversation started. "I wasn't hiding him. I just didn't know how to explain Tyler." "Well, you better start explaining now." My voice comes out harder than I intended, but I can't help it. I want to know everything, right now. She takes a deep breath and shifts on the couch, tucking her legs underneath her. "Tyler is 26. He has severe cerebral palsy. I met him when I was volunteering at the Children's Hospital during my sophomore year of college." "But you said he's your boyfriend." I'm still stuck on that word, the casual way she dropped it into our first morning as husband and wife. "That's just what I call him. It started as a joke between us years ago when I was helping with his physical therapy. He got embarrassed when other patients would ask who I was, so I said I was his girlfriend. It made him laugh." Her voice softens with the memory. "The name just stuck. And you never thought to mention this to me? Not once in 2 years?" Rachel reaches for her phone again, scrolling through her photos. "Here," she says, turning the screen toward me. The image shows Rachel kneeling beside a wheelchair. In it sits a thin young man with a twisted posture, his head tilted at an awkward angle. His smile is lopsided but genuine, and Rachel's arm is around his shoulders. "This is Tyler," she says quietly. I feel a rush of shame wash over me. I'd been picturing some handsome rival, someone Rachel was carrying on a secret relationship with, not this. "He can't speak very well," she continues, swiping to show more photos. "His motor control is limited. He needs help with almost everything: eating, bathing, medication. After his mom died 4 years ago, there wasn't really anyone else." The timeline clicks into place. "That's when you stopped volunteering at the hospital." She nods. "I couldn't just abandon him. He was devastated after his mom died, and his dad hasn't been in the picture since he was a kid. The hospital connected him with a part-time aide, but it wasn't enough. He was so alone." I sink into the armchair across from her, trying to process everything. "So every Monday for the past 4 years, I go to his apartment. I help with whatever he needs. Groceries, cleaning, sometimes just company. He gets so isolated." She looks down at her hands. "I didn't tell you because people judge. They hear I spend time with another man and immediately think the worst, or they get uncomfortable about the disability aspect." "You've been paying his rent," I say, still trying to fit the pieces together. $600 a month. That's almost $8,000 a year, Rachel. Her expression hardened slightly. "His disability payments barely cover his medical expenses. What was I supposed to do? Let him end up in some terrible state facility? You were supposed to tell me." I stand up, unable to contain my frustration. "We're married. We just made vows yesterday to share our lives completely, and you've been hiding this massive commitment from me our entire relationship. I was afraid, she admits, her voice smaller now. Afraid you wouldn't understand, that you'd make me choose. So instead you lied. For 2 years. You let me believe you were in therapy when you were actually with him. I never actually said I was in therapy, she counters. I just said I had an appointment. You assumed. Don't, I warn. Don't try to technicality your way out of this. You deliberately misled me about something huge. Rachel stands too, crossing her arms. Would you have understood? Really? If on our third date I'd said, by the way, I spend every Monday with a disabled man I call my boyfriend, and oh, I also give him hundreds of dollars a month, would that have gone over well? That's not fair, I say, though part of me wonders if she's right. The point is, you never gave me the chance to understand. You just decided for both of us that this would be a secret. It wasn't a secret, it was private. Private? I laugh incredulously. Rachel, we share a bank account. We're building a life together. There's no private when it comes to financial commitments that affect both of us. She looks away, and I can see tears forming in her eyes. I know I should have told you sooner. I didn't know how. And then the longer I waited, the harder it got. So what was your plan? Were you ever going to tell me? Yes, she says, but the hesitation in her voice is unmistakable. Eventually. And what about going forward? Were you planning to keep spending our money on Tyler without discussing it with me? It's my money too, she says defensively. I earn it. That's not how marriage works. I run my hands through my hair in frustration. We're supposed to make these decisions together. What else haven't you told me? Is Tyler going to move in with us next? Are there other financial commitments I don't know about? Rachel's silence speaks volumes, and a terrible thought occurs to me. Wait, did you actually want him to live with us eventually? She doesn't answer immediately, which is all the answer I need. Unbelievable, I mutter. We're not even 24 hours into this marriage, and I'm finding out my wife has been living a double life. It's not a double life, Rachel protests, tears now streaming down her face. It's just a part of my life. I didn't know how to share with you. Tyler needs me. He has no one else. And what about me? What about us? Don't I deserve honesty from the person I just promised to spend my life with? We stand there in our beautiful honeymoon suite, the morning sunlight streaming through the windows, illuminating the wreckage of what should have been the beginning of our happily ever after. Instead, it feels like everything I thought I knew about Rachel about us is crumbling. I want to meet him, I say finally. Rachel looks up, surprise evident on her face. You do? Yes. If he's this important to you, if he's going to be part of our lives, then I need to understand exactly what we're dealing with. I want to meet Tyler. Today. He can't come today, she says. His aide isn't available to bring him until tomorrow. Monday. Fine. Monday it is. I grab my phone and head toward the bedroom. But Rachel, no more secrets. Not one. If there's anything else I should know, now's the time. She wipes her tears and nods, but something in her expression tells me this is just the beginning of revelations I never expected to face the day after my wedding. Monday comes too quickly. After a weekend of tense conversations and uncomfortable silences in our honeymoon suite, I find myself following Rachel's car through an unfamiliar part of town. The buildings grow more weathered as we drive, paint peeling from facades that have seen better decades. This is it, Rachel says, pulling into a parking spot in front of a shabby apartment complex. I take a deep breath, trying to prepare myself for whatever comes next. I've spent the past 2 nights researching cerebral palsy until my eyes burn from staring at my phone screen. The clinical descriptions of muscle rigidity, speech impairments, and seizure risks didn't prepare me for the reality of walking into Tyler's world. The hallway smells of disinfectant and something medicinal I can't identify. Rachel knocks on apartment 117, then uses her key when there's no answer. Tyler, it's Rachel. I brought someone to meet you. The apartment is small, impossibly small for someone with mobility issues. Medical equipment dominates the living space. A hospital bed against one wall, a mechanical lift beside it, oxygen tanks in the corner. The coffee table is covered with medication bottles, feeding supplies, and what looks like therapy tools. And there, in a specialized wheelchair by the window, is Tyler. He's thinner than he appeared in Rachel's photos, his body contorted in a way that looks painful. His head lolls slightly to one side, but his eyes, bright and alert, lock onto Rachel immediately. A smile transforms his face, though the muscles don't quite cooperate fully. Rachel, he manages, the word slurred but unmistakable. Rachel's entire demeanor changes the moment she sees him. The tension she's been carrying all weekend melts away, replaced by a warmth and ease I've rarely seen in her. She crosses the room and kneels beside his wheelchair, taking his twisted hand in hers. Hey you, she says softly. How was your weekend? Tyler makes a sound that might be a laugh, his head jerking slightly with the effort. Boring. No, you. I missed you too, Rachel says, smoothing his hair back from his forehead with practiced tenderness. Tyler, this is my husband. Remember I told you about him? Tyler's eyes shift to me, studying me with an intensity that makes me uncomfortable. I force myself to step forward, extending my hand before realizing he probably can't shake it. I awkwardly lower it again. Hi Tyler, I've heard a lot about you. Not all, Tyler says, his words difficult but deliberate. She keeps secrets. Rachel laughs, but I can hear the nervousness in it. Tyler likes to tease, she explains, but I'm not convinced that's what he was doing. I watch as Rachel moves around the apartment with practiced efficiency, checking Tyler's medication chart, adjusting his position in the chair, examining a bed sore on his arm with a frown. The aide isn't changing your position often enough, she mutters. I'll talk to the agency again. No, trouble, Tyler protests. It's not trouble, Rachel insists. You deserve proper care. As I stand awkwardly in the corner, Rachel explains Tyler's situation. His mother died from cancer 4 years ago. His father walked out when Tyler was 3, unable to handle raising a child with severe disabilities. After his mom died, the state wanted to put him in a group home, Rachel says, preparing what looks like a protein shake with practiced movements. But those places, you wouldn't believe how bad some of them are. Understaffed, underfunded. People like Tyler get neglected. Tyler makes a sound of protest, and Rachel immediately accurately translates. He says he's not helpless, just differently abled. She smiles at him fondly, which is true, but everyone needs help sometimes. I watch as Rachel holds the cup to Tyler's lips, wiping away drips with a napkin when he struggles to swallow. The intimacy of the scene makes me feel like an intruder. How often do you really come here, I ask. Mondays for sure, Rachel answers, not looking away from Tyler. Sometimes Thursdays if he really needs me, and I call every day. She hesitates. It's about 8 to 10 hours a week, all told. The number hits me like a physical blow. 10 hours every week for 4 years. That's over 2,000 hours she spent here. While we were dating time I never knew about. And the money? I press. Rachel sighs. His disability payments cover the basics, but not enough for this apartment, which is the only one we could find with wheelchair accessibility in his price range. I help with rent, groceries, and some medical supplies insurance won't cover. Tyler's eyes follow our conversation, clearly understanding everything, despite his limited ability to participate. Not charity, he manages to say. Friendship. Something in his expression makes me realize he genuinely loves Rachel. Not romantically, but with the deep attachment of someone whose life has been irrevocably changed by another person's kindness. Tyler has no one else, Rachel says quietly. I'm his emergency contact, his medical proxy, his everything. The weight of that responsibility settles over me. This isn't just a friendship or a volunteer position. Rachel has essentially become this man's lifeline. We stay for nearly 3 hours. I watch Rachel help Tyler with his exercises, laughing at his slow jokes, reading him messages from his online support group. It's like watching a different version of my wife, one who moves with confidence and purpose I've rarely seen. When we finally leave, Tyler's eyes meet mine directly. Take care of her, he says, each word a labor. She's the best person. Back at our resort, I spend the evening researching cerebral palsy more extensively, trying to understand the progression of Tyler's condition, the care he requires, what his future might look like. The prognosis isn't good. Many people with his severity of symptoms face increasing complications as they age. Rachel sits across from me, answering my questions with a mixture of relief and wariness, like she's still waiting for me to explode. Why didn't you just tell me? I ask for what feels like the 100th time. Because people always react one of two ways, she says, staring into her wine glass. Either they think I'm a saint and put me on some weird pedestal, or they think I'm crazy for taking on someone else's burden. Neither one feels right. Before I can respond, Rachel's phone rings. Her face pales as she answers. Slow down, Maria. What happened? The panic in her voice makes my stomach drop. Which hospital? We'll be right there. She hangs up, already grabbing her purse. Tyler had a seizure. His aide found him on the floor. We need to go now. We're 3 hours away, I point out. Then we better start driving, Rachel says, her voice breaking. He doesn't have anyone else who'll show up for him. As we rush to the car, leaving our honeymoon suite behind, I realize that whatever I thought marriage to Rachel would be, this is our reality now. A life intertwined with a man I just met, whose existence I didn't know about until yesterday, and who needs my wife in ways I'm only beginning to understand. The hospital is waiting for us, and I have no idea what we'll find when we get there. The hospital corridor is a blur of fluorescent lighting and antiseptic smells as we rush toward the emergency department. Rachel moves with the confidence of someone who's done this before, navigating the maze of hallways without hesitation while I struggle to keep up. Rachel Dawson, she tells the nurse at the station. I'm Tyler Matthews' emergency contact and medical proxy. The nurse's expression shifts from professional detachment to recognition. Oh, Rachel, he's in Bay 3. Dr. Patel is with him now. Rachel squeezes my hand briefly before dropping it and hurrying through the double doors. I follow, feeling distinctly out of place as we enter a curtained area where Tyler lies unconscious, his body somehow looking even more fragile against the stark white hospital sheets. A doctor looks up from Tyler's chart. Rachel, good, you're here. How is he? Rachel's voice is steady, but I can see the tension in her shoulders. Dr. Patel's expression is grave. The seizure was more severe than his previous episodes. We've stabilized him, but I'm concerned about the pattern we're seeing. He glances at me questioningly. This is my husband, Rachel explains, not taking her eyes off Tyler. He knows everything. Everything. The word hangs between us, and I wonder if that's really true. Tyler's condition is deteriorating more rapidly than we anticipated, Dr. Patel continues. The spasticity in his muscles has increased significantly, and these seizures are becoming more frequent. We need to adjust his medication regimen, but I want to be honest with you, we're running out of options. Rachel nods, her clinical composure remarkable. What's the timeline? It's difficult to say precisely. Months, perhaps a year. He pauses. Quality of life will continue to decline. We should discuss palliative care options soon. I watch as Rachel absorbs this information, her face betraying nothing, while her hands grip the bed rail until her knuckles turn white. Only then do I realize the weight she's been carrying alone all this time. Not just Tyler's physical care, but the knowledge of his inevitable decline. I need a minute, she says finally, her voice cracking. Dr. Patel nods sympathetically. Take your time. I'll be back to discuss the new medication plan. When he leaves, Rachel's composure crumbles. She sinks into the chair beside Tyler's bed and begins to sob, quiet, desperate sounds that tear at my heart despite my lingering anger. I promised, she whispers, clutching Tyler's limp hand. I promised I'd never abandon him, not like everyone else. I stand awkwardly at the foot of the bed, torn between comforting my wife and the feeling that I'm intruding on something intensely private. Before I can decide, the curtain parts again, and an older couple rushes in. We came as soon as we got your message, the woman says, embracing Rachel. How is he? It takes me a moment to recognize them as Rachel's parents, whom I've only met a handful of times during our relationship. They barely acknowledge my presence, focused entirely on Tyler and Rachel. Mom, Dad, you didn't have to drive all this way, Rachel says, wiping her tears. Of course we did, her father replies, placing a gentle hand on Tyler's forehead. He's family. The casual way he says it, family hits me like a physical blow. They've known all along. While I was being kept in the dark for our entire relationship, Rachel's parents were fully aware of Tyler's existence and importance in her life. You knew, I say, my voice harder than I intended. All this time, you knew. Rachel's mother turns to me, her expression a mixture of sympathy and defensiveness. Of course we knew. We've been helping with Tyler since Rachel first started volunteering at the hospital. I think we need to talk, I tell Rachel, gesturing toward the hallway. She follows me reluctantly, glancing back at Tyler as if afraid he'll disappear if she looks away too long. Your parents knew, I say once we're alone. They've always known. Yes, she admits. They've been supportive from the beginning. So So I was the only one kept in the dark? The only one not trusted with this information? It wasn't about trust. It was absolutely about trust. I lower my voice when a passing nurse gives us a concerned look. Rachel, do you understand what you've done? You built our entire relationship, our marriage, on a fundamental lie. It wasn't a lie, she insists. It was an omission. An omission that affects our entire future. Our finances, our time, our life plans, everything. Rachel leans against the wall, suddenly looking exhausted. I was going to tell you. When? After the wedding? After we bought a house? After we had children? I run my hands through my hair in frustration. Why didn't you just tell me the truth from the beginning? Her eyes fill with tears again. Because I was afraid you wouldn't marry me if you knew. The admission hangs between us, devastating in its honesty. So you made that choice for me, I say quietly. You decided what I could handle, what I deserved to know about the woman I was committing my life to. A nurse approaches with a clipboard. Mrs. Dawson, we need your signature on these forms for Tyler's new medication. Rachel takes the clipboard automatically, scanning the documents with practiced efficiency before signing. I notice the total at the bottom, $1,280 for medication not covered by insurance. I'll take care of it, Rachel says when she sees me looking. It comes from my personal account, the one where you transfer $600 every month, I ask, because this is a lot more than $600. She hands the clipboard back to the nurse before answering. Sometimes it's more. It depends on what he needs. How much, Rachel? How much have you actually been spending? She hesitates. Usually between $800 and $1,000 a month. The $600 is just the regular transfer for rent and groceries. Medical expenses come out separately. I feel dizzy trying to calculate what that means, nearly $12,000 a year, for years, without my knowledge. Money that could have gone toward our future, our home, our children. There's something else you should know, Rachel says quietly. I'm Tyler's legal guardian. His what? After his mother died, there was no one else. He would have become a ward of the state. She looks at me pleadingly. I couldn't let that happen to him. I stare at her, this woman I thought I knew completely. So you're legally responsible for him? For his care, his decisions, everything? She nods. Yes. And when were you planning to tell me this? After we combined all our finances? After we had children who would have to share your attention with a man who requires constant care? Rachel flinches at my tone. I was going to tell you on our honeymoon. I had it all planned out how I would explain everything, show you the documentation, help you understand. And then what? What was your plan for our future? She looks away, and I can see the answer in her expression before she speaks. You wanted him to live with us? I realize. That was always your plan, wasn't it? Not right away, she says quickly. But eventually, yes. His apartment isn't suitable for his declining condition. He needs more space, better accessibility. So you were going to move him into our home, the home we haven't even bought yet, without discussing it with me first. I was going to discuss it with you, after you met him, after you understood, after we were already married and it would be too late for me to walk away. The words come out before I can stop them, and Rachel recoils as if I've slapped her. Is that what you want to do? She asks, her voice barely audible. Walk away? Before I can answer, her father appears in the hallway. Rachel, Tyler's awake. He's asking for you. She hesitates, torn between our conversation and Tyler's needs. Go, I say. We'll finish this later. As she hurries back to Tyler's side, I find myself alone in the sterile hospital corridor, watching through the gap in the curtains as my wife of 3 days tenderly strokes the hair of a man who has been the center of her world for 8 years. Our honeymoon suite waits for us back at the resort, champagne in the mini fridge, rose petals probably still scattered across the bed. But as I sink into an uncomfortable waiting room chair, I know we won't be returning to that fantasy tonight. Instead, we'll be here, in this harsh, fluorescent reality, trying to navigate a future neither of us clearly saw coming. The beginning of our marriage has become a standoff about obligations I never agreed to take on, and promises Rachel made long before she met me. As I watch her through the curtain, her head bent close to Tyler's as she speaks to him softly, I wonder if there's room in her heart for both of us, and if I can accept sharing my wife with a man who needs her even more than I do. The morning after Tyler's seizure, I find myself alone in the hospital waiting room. Rachel has been by his bedside all night, refusing to leave, even after the nurses suggested she get some rest. It's barely 6 a.m., and the fluorescent lights cast everything in a sickly glow that matches how I feel. I've spent most of the night researching cerebral palsy on my phone, falling down medical rabbit holes about prognosis, care requirements, and quality of life. My eyes burn from lack of sleep and too much screen time, but I can't stop. This is my life now, our life, and I need to understand what we're facing. When I peek into Tyler's room, I find Rachel asleep in the chair beside his bed, her hands still clutching his. Tyler, however, is awake, his eyes following me as I quietly enter. Morning, he manages, his voice barely audible. I hesitate, then take the seat on the other side of his bed. Morning, how are you feeling? He makes a sound that might be a laugh. Ben, better. We sit in awkward silence for a moment. Rachel is still asleep, her face peaceful for the first time since this crisis began. I realize this might be my only chance to speak with Tyler alone. I want to understand, I say finally, about you and Rachel. Tyler's eyes, intelligent and alert despite his body's limitations, study me carefully. She didn't tell you. It's not a question. No, I admit, she didn't. He closes his eyes briefly, and I think he might be gathering strength to speak. When he opens them again, there's something like determination in his expression. Not her fault, he says laboriously. I asked her not to. This surprises me. You did? Why? People judge. Each word is an effort for him, but he pushes through. See me as burden. Didn't want to ruin things for her. The realization hits me. Tyler has been protecting Rachel as much as she's been protecting him. I wouldn't have judged, I say, but even as the words leave my mouth, I'm not entirely sure they're true. Would I have pursued a relationship with Rachel if I'd known about Tyler from the beginning? Everyone judges, Tyler responds, with a wisdom that makes me uncomfortable. Even you. Now. He's right, and we both know it. I never her. Wanted to cause problems, he continues. Told her to tell you many times. Then why didn't she? Afraid of losing. In you. His breathing becomes more labored with the effort of speaking. She loves you. Rachel stirs in her chair and I quickly change the subject. Do you need anything? Water? He shakes his head slightly. Just listen, please. I nod, leaning closer to hear his strained words. Not about me, Tyler says. About compassion. Rachel has biggest heart. Don't punish her for that. His words hit me with unexpected force. I've been so focused on the deception, on the financial implications, on how this affects our future, that I've overlooked the most fundamental truth. My wife's extraordinary capacity for love and sacrifice. Before I can respond, Rachel wakes up, blinking in surprise to find us talking. Hey, she says, her voice rough with sleep. Everything okay? We're just getting to know each other, I tell her, and the relief on her face is palpable. The next few days pass in a blur of hospital visits, consultations with doctors, and long conversations in hotel rooms near the hospital. Our honeymoon suite at the resort remains abandoned, a symbol of the carefree future we thought we were stepping into. One night, over room service dinner, I finally lay out what's been weighing on me. I'm not angry about Tyler, I tell her. I'm angry about being excluded from a major part of your life. I'm your husband, Rachel. We're supposed to face challenges together. She pushes her food around her plate. I know, I've been handling this alone for so long, I don't know how to let someone help. Well, you need to learn, I say firmly, because I'm not going anywhere, and neither is Tyler. Her head snaps up, eyes wide with surprise. What are you saying? I'm saying we need a plan, a real one, not just you trying to juggle everything yourself until you collapse. For the first time in days, hope flickers across her face. You mean that? Yes, I say, surprising myself with how much I mean it. But there have to be boundaries. We need to be honest about the financial commitment, the time commitment, everything. We spend the next several hours creating a schedule that allows Rachel to continue supporting Tyler while still preserving time for our marriage. I contact a social worker who specializes in adults with disabilities, who connects us with resources we didn't know existed, better housing options, additional aid services, equipment grants. You know, I tell Rachel as we drive back to the hospital the next morning, our home office would make a decent, accessible room for when Tyler visits. She looks at me like I've just offered her the moon. You'd do that? I'm not saying he should live with us full time, I clarify. But for visits, for holidays, yes, we can make that work. Over the next 6 months, our lives settle into a new normal. We convert the office in our new house into a space where Tyler can stay comfortably. I accompany Rachel on her Monday visits sometimes, getting to know the man who has been such an important part of her life. The biggest breakthrough comes when we find an assisted living facility specifically designed for younger adults with disabilities. It's more expensive than Tyler's current apartment, but between his disability payments, our contribution, and a grant the social worker helps us secure, we make it work. What do you think? Rachel asks nervously as we tour the facility with Tyler. His face lights up at the spacious rooms, the accessible bathroom, the community areas where residents gather for activities. I like it, he says, and I can hear the relief in his voice, relief that he won't be a burden on Rachel anymore. The day we help Tyler move in, I watch Rachel fuss over arranging his belongings, making sure everything is just right. She's crying, but they're complicated tears, sadness mixed with relief and hope. He's gonna be okay, I tell her, putting my arm around her shoulders. I know, she says. I've been responsible for him for so long, and you still are, I remind her, just differently now. Rachel continues her weekly visits, and I join her at least twice a month. The facility's staff know us by name, and Tyler thrives with the increased social interaction and professional care. His health stabilizes somewhat, though Dr. Patel warns us the improvement might be temporary. One evening, about a year after our wedding, Rachel comes home with a stack of papers. What's all this? I ask as she spreads them across our dining table. I've been thinking, she says, a familiar determination in her voice. There are so many people like Tyler who fall through the cracks, people with disabilities who don't have anyone fighting for them. The papers outline a foundation, one dedicated to helping adults with disabilities find appropriate housing and care. I want to start this, she says, with you, together. I look at my wife, this extraordinary woman whose capacity for compassion continues to amaze me, and I know that this is exactly what we should be doing. The Tyler Matthews Foundation, I suggest, and her smile is blinding. As we work on the foundation paperwork late into the night, I think about that morning after our wedding, when Rachel asked if her boyfriend could come over. What seemed like a betrayal was actually the beginning of understanding the woman I married, a woman whose heart is big enough to keep promises others would find too difficult, too inconvenient. Our marriage isn't what I imagined it would be. It's more complicated, more challenging, and infinitely more meaningful than I could have predicted, because loving Rachel means embracing all of her, including her unwavering commitment to a man who needed her when no one else was there. And in the end, isn't that exactly the kind of person you want to build a life with?